So thought I'd shoot a little video to talk about a little bit more about my entry in Artprize called Big Spring. So this is an assemblage, it's about 4 feet in length. I started doing much smaller assemblages a couple years ago, and then of course they kept getting bigger and more complicated as I went. So a lot of my work is nature inspired, if you couldn't tell. And this year I've been doing a lot of winter pieces as well for a show, and so we had quite an extended winter, so I was very motivated by what's happening for the spring. What I really was interested in incorporating are these eco prints, which are prints that I made last fall because they require use of actual leaves, fresh leaves off the tree. This is a sumac branch, and then you create a bundle of them with papers and you steam them. In this case I used an old railroad spike as a mordant, and you just never know what you get when you unwrap the bundle after a day of steaming. Here's some other eco prints that I tried on different papers. But at any rate, I really wanted to incorporate some of those in a spring kind of palette, and so those were my impetus to start with. And so using those as a basis for my palette, I then created some encaustic surfaces that use the palette of the mosses that were starting to come alive. My yard, yay! I've always been a big fan of ferns and fiddleheads, and so there's one transferred onto this encaustic surface. And then took a ring of bark that was falling off and added it onto a shelf that holds up this bit. Little cross section of a tree. Couldn't quite figure out what to put there. Tried a couple different things, and what I ended up with is a wooden egg. I've used real eggs and I have no problem with that. However, this one would have required me to do quite a bit of changing to the composition, which was done at that point, so I made my own. This part, I love this pussy willow. It's my favorite harbinger of spring, and so I created a box that kind of settles into the composition, and transferred onto the back of that is some text from Aldo Leopold, my favorite conservationist, Sand County Almanac, and it's the March chapter. So at any rate, as you can see, it's kind of dimensional, but it's two-dimensional, and it's kind of an homage to spring. These are some of the worksheets and sketchbooks that went into it. There's quite a bit of sequencing that has to happen, but anyhow, I'm hoping that it will find some good home to hang in for Artprize.